Okay, yeah, let's talk some spoilers for the Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated movie. This is going to be a spoiler review. It's almost going to be just a breakdown. We're going to go through everything, so this is going to be a pretty long video. If you don't want to be spoiled, I did do a non-spoiler review that's up already here on the channel. You can go check it out. And then once you watch the movie, come back and check this one out, as we're going to break down everything. More turtle-centric, but we'll talk about some of the Batman stuff too. I'm a little bit of a Batman fan as well, but definitely turtles are more my thing. And I feel like if you're subscribed to the channel, you kind of get that. But if you happen to be stumbling across this video, that might be why we're talking a little bit more about turtles in this. But we're going to talk about everything, so everything's going to come up. So let's go ahead, talk about it. This is your final spoiler warning. We're going straight into it. The opening scene is just like the one that was released a couple weeks ago, or was it? It was like last week or something, with Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, going and getting a tour of like a generator that a scientist is working on. The Foot come in, they try to steal it. The turtles, use their ninja smoke and go in there and fight the Foot off, and both the Foot and the turtles just disappear without a trace. And this is where it cuts over to Batgirl, and she's telling Batman everything that went down, just like in the clip we saw. No extra parts or anything, just exactly like the preview that they released. And then the credits start off once Batman swings away. And these credits were pretty cool. The music was really good, and it's like a black and white sequence thing, and the turtle characters pop up in little sections, and their bandanas are in color, so you can kind of point them out. And it says a DC film, and then also produced by both the Warner Brothers or whatever and Nickelodeon. Which, real quick, this must have been kind of, I don't want to say hard, but maybe a difficult process, lending out, the Turtles to Warner Brothers, because I don't know if Viacom and Warner Brothers are the same company. Viacom's the company, I believe, that owns Nickelodeon. I don't think they're the same company, so for them to lend out this property, the Ninja Turtles, out to Warner Brothers, or just to collab with Warner Brothers, I guess, I don't know if they lent them out, but to work together on this was pretty cool. So that's cool of Nickelodeon to do that, and we'll talk about it more as we get there. But just in general, there's some brutal fight scenes in this movie, and Nickelodeon had to have seen this as some sort of a risk to have it so brutal, but I think it's going to pay off for them. This is what I believe Turtle fans have been wanting to see out of the Turtles for a long time, and hopefully it gets their attention. Hopefully it does well, and it gets their attention to, oh, maybe this is, maybe we should try more projects like this with the Ninja Turtles. We'll see what happens though, but I hope it plays out like that, and we get more Turtles in this tone. Maybe more animated movies, one a year or something like that, or whenever they wrap up Rise, maybe more of a PG-13 or what's the TV rating, TV-13 or whatever style Ninja Turtle show, maybe on a Nick at Night or whatever their Adult Swim equivalent is over there on Nickelodeon. Do they even have one? Whatever they have right now for their teens, I'm sure they have a channel dedicated for that type of content. I think they called it Snick or something when we were kids. But yeah, hopefully it opens up the doors to more possibilities with the Ninja Turtles if this does well. Fingers crossed. All right, let's keep going. Next, we see the Turtles arrive in Gotham, and in this universe, it does appear that Gotham and New York do both exist in the United States. I don't know if that's how it is in DC Comics. I don't think there's a New York. I'm not sure, but maybe. But I know there's not a Gotham in the Turtles universes and stuff. But in this universe, in this movie, there is a Gotham and there is a New York in the same country, in the same universe. There's even a joke about it where Donnie says they're pretty much the same thing, which is funny because a lot of people kind of refer to Gotham as New York when talking about it and stuff, or just comparing the two. I've also seen people compare Gotham to they say it's also based off Chicago, but New York was always what I got when I was a kid. I always thought, oh, it's their version of New York. Mikey says, but this Gotham here has a bunch of blimps, and they look up at the sky and there's a bunch of blimps everywhere, and that was pretty funny. Mikey says something like, what do they use all these blimps for? And there's a bunch of them, and it's funny because you always see that in Batman, and Batman stories and stuff. So the Foot are after another device which is located, I think, like at Wayne Enterprises. But the Penguin, gets wind of this, that like someone's after all these machines, so they try to get this machine as well. They're trying to like poach on it, that way they can sell it to like the highest bidder later on, because they know so many people are after this stuff. So the Penguin is there and he's gonna break into Wayne Enterprises, it looks like, but the Turtles arrive. And this is the first time we see like the Turtles in action, and there's some good dialogue here. I believe like Penguin thinks they're aliens or something like that, and Donnie goes, well, we're not aliens. And Leo says, well, it doesn't matter, we just need to get these guys. And Donnie's like, no, it does matter, you got to be accurate when it comes to these sort of things, or something like that. I thought that was funny. It was a nice little jab at like the old Michael Bay Turtles. I feel, if a lot of you aren't aware, when they were developing that movie, they were gonna call it like Ninja Alien Turtles or something like that, or something along those lines. I forget what it was. I'll probably do a video on it one day, but pretty much they were gonna like change the backstory of the Ninja Turtles and make them aliens instead of mutants or something like that. And there was this big old backlash about it, and they had to like change everything, and the movie had to get like half redone or something like that. I'll go into I'm like skimming across a bunch of the details, and I'm probably getting a lot of it wrong, but that's pretty much how everybody saw it unfold. I'll probably do a video later on talking about that whole thing and how that all went down. That's something I'm going to work on when I start touching a little bit more on those Bay Turtles, which it's getting close. We're coming up on it. But yeah, seeing Donnie kind of poke fun at themselves when it comes to that was pretty great. The Turtles are fighting the Penguin's guys, and this is where we get one of our first like really brutal action scenes. We see Raphael like knee one of the henchmen in the face, and his like nose breaks, there's blood flying everywhere. And this is where I was like, oh man, is this the first time we ever seen like the Turtles draw blood like in an animated thing? Like brutal. It wasn't just like a drop, it was like blood splattered everywhere, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. If some of you are watching it and if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie yet, and you just wanted to hear the spoilers, I guess the best way I can compare it to, I don't know if you remember like the old Dragon Ball Z days where like Vegeta would be fighting and like he'd be all bloodied up and stuff. Depends on which version of Dragon Ball you watched, I guess, too. But the version where he's all bloodied and stuff, it was almost like that level of brutal, where it was realistic. The guy got kneed in the face and blood just splattered everywhere, and I was like, finally we get something like really like crunchy, like raw action. And I was like, thank goodness, it's been so long since I feel like the Turtles have been done like this. 2003 Turtles, 2012 Turtles had, they had a good amount of action, but this is like another like step above when it comes to like the brutality of it, just like a notch up. And I think it was a good move. It definitely sets the tone, like, oh man. And there's more moments like this, and we'll get to it, especially one at the end. While all this is going on, Batman's like tracking where the Turtles are, because Batgirl told him about these lizard people she saw, and like the Foot Clan and stuff. So he's tracking all this stuff, and he knows they're going to Wayne Enterprises. So he's waiting inside, and this is where the Foot try to enter, and Batman just beats the crap out of them. And he grabs one of them and he's like, who are you working for, or something like that. And right when like he's gonna answer, like a ninja star comes flying through the sky and just impales the guy's skull, and just like blood just starts like dripping out of his head, and he's sitting there with a ninja star in his head, and like he goes limp in Batman's like hands. And Batman's like, what the heck? And he looks up at the window where the ninja star came from, and like Shredder's just kind of creeping up there, and he's just kind of like looking at Batman, and it looks like he's gonna like leave, but Batman like shoots his grappling hook and tries to wrap it around his arm, and Shredder just cuts it off and jumps down. And this is the part where I was talking about, where the way he comes into frame is a lot like the 1990 movie, and the final fight of that movie, the rooftop fight, where Shredder comes down, it's like slow motion, and his feet are like going down, and you can hear like all the air escape the room, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Yeah, he just comes down like that in the movie, and I thought that was a sweet nod to the 1990 movie fans, like the creators saying like, we got you, and I thought I appreciated that, and I'm sure a lot of Turtles fans appreciated that as well. I thought it was really rad to see. Shredder, this is Shredder and Batman's first encounter. They start fighting, and it seems like it's going back and forth, just like you saw in the trailer. Batman, throws him on like a console and like smashes, but it's not as one-sided as the trailer made it seem, like where Batman was winning, because Shredder starts beating the crap out of Batman too, and then ends up using this like special move. I think later in the movie they refer to it as I believe it was pronounced Sato Oshi strike, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to that part. But pretty much it's like this touch of death thing that he does on Batman, and it just knocks Batman on his ass. But the Shredder's also like out of breath too. Like, he looks like he got to run for his money, but that move was just too much for Batman, and Shredder says like, just stay out of my business or something, and he books it. And this is all being like balanced out with like the Turtles fighting the Penguins guys. And like I said, my non-spoiler review, this movie's balanced perfect. Like, it doesn't focus more on one character, one property more than the other. It focuses on both of them pretty equally, and it looks like it's on purpose, but it feels right. It's smooth and it flows well. Now the Turtles pretty much beat the crap out of all the Penguins guys. They're all tied up together, like on the rooftop where they were fighting, like across from Wayne Enterprises, where they were, that's where everybody was scoping out Wayne Enterprises. And they do at this point throw a little bit of the Raphael Leonardo rivalry in here, even though chances are we're probably never going to get to see this rivalry play out. Maybe if they make a sequel to this movie, maybe they like to add it in, but it's never going to be like fully fleshed out, because I wouldn't imagine they use these turtles other than these Batman versus Ninja Turtles movies. But it was nice. It was kind of like you got a peek into their universe and their rivalry, their unique rivalry in this specific universe, as they're kind of going back and forth when Raphael kicks the Penguin's henchman off the roof and into like a trash can or something. Like Leo's like, dude, like, did you know there was a trash can there? And like it's funny, but there's also a little bit of that Leonardo Raphael rivalry like undertones to it, and I at least saw it that way, and I hope it was done that way on purpose, because I love that rivalry. And it seems like the people who wrote this or directed it, or whoever input that part, understands that and just threw it in there as a nice little nod to Turtles fans. I'm telling you, I don't know how DC fans feel about this movie, but for Turtles fans, this movie like checked all the boxes. I'm not even kidding. Like, there's more stuff. We're going to get into it as we go on. So anyways, both fights are done. Batman's done fighting the Shredder. Shredder takes off. The Turtles are done fighting the Foot, and they're just kind of like walking through an alley, and they stumble across the Batmobile, and they're like, whoa, like they never seen anything like it. And this is where Batman shows up, and we get that Batman Ninja Turtles fight in that alley that we saw in the trailer. And this was pretty good. You get some funny moments. Michelangelo falls into like through a pizza shop window or something, and everybody's like freaking out because it's like a giant turtle in there, and Batman's kind of kicking their butt. And this is where I feel like maybe some Turtle fans might be like, I wish the Turtles would have put up a better fight. I feel like Leonardo maybe should have put up a better fight, maybe got a few more licks in than he did. And he does later when they're training, and the Turtles also, later on in the movie, go up against him again, like in a different form, so it kind of balances out, and we'll talk about that more as we get to it. But I don't know, this one might rub some people the wrong way, where they just got pretty easily defeated by him. I kind of enjoyed it though. I understand it's Batman, like he's got to be like a badass, and he's Batman. Maybe a few more licks from Leonardo would have been cool though. But anyways, there is a great part in this where he pretty much like piles up Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael. Like, he beats them all three up, and like they're all piled on each other. And we get a great moment from Leonardo here where he goes, I don't know who the hell you are, or he says, I don't know who you are, but you better get the hell away from my brothers, or something like that. And I thought that was great. I was like, damn, Leonardo, it kind of reminded me, see, I don't know, hell when I was growing up was kind of like a bad word, but it wasn't. I don't know, not really, but it was like an in-between bad word. So seeing Leonardo say, get the hell away from my brothers, was kind of like, it reminded me of when Raph said damn, like for the first time in that 1990 movie. And I was like, when I was watching this, I was like, yeah, that Leonardo sounded cool when he said it. Anyways, I forget how it happens, but like the Turtles use their like ninja vanish thing, like the smoke pellet, and they just disappear, and Batman's like, what the hell is that? After this is when we get like Baxter Stockman, and If you saw my non-spoiler review, and my like character designs, like breakdowns and stuff, I didn't think like I was gonna like the character just off the design, because I was like, oh man, what direction are they going? And he looked kind of goofy. But when I saw him here, it's to me, it was like a Rick and Morty character, and Rick and Morty is one of my favorite shows, and I thought he like was a character from like their universe in this, because his comedy is very similar, or at least the way he's reading his lines is similar to a character off Rick and Morty that I can't put my finger on, but I thought it was hilarious. He's funny throughout this whole thing. He tries to shake Ra's al Ghul's hand, and there's just like this awkward silence because Ra's al Ghul's just kind of staring at like Shredder. He's not even paying attention to Baxter. There's this other part where he like throws up at the end that was hilarious, and yeah, I like the character. He ended up being one of my favorite characters in this thing. Anyways, he's asking Shredder, where's the other part to the machine, because they're collecting parts, machine parts for this big thing they're building that's gonna like rain down like ooze and Venom's Joker's venom. It's like a cocktail thing that'll make people mutate and go crazy over the city. They're building this machine that's going to do that, and in return Shredder will get the location or how to use the Lazarus pit to become immortal, like Ra's al Ghul did. Ra's al Ghul, like he shows up and like him and Shredder, they come face to face, but it's tense. Like it almost feels like they're squaring off, and you see like the League of Assassins behind Ra's, and you see the Foot Clan behind the Shredder. And I almost wanted to see this go down. Like that would have been really cool to see both like clans fight each other. And I almost felt like they were going to at one point, but they never did. But the imagery here was pretty cool, seeing the contrast between both groups. Anyways, something happens. Ra's has to take Shredder to Arkham, and we get back to that later. It cuts over to like the Turtles, and they've kind of regrouped in, looks like an arcade or like an internet cafe or something. It's after hours. The place looks closed, but they're in there researching, Batman. They're looking at all these old news articles and stuff. There's this funny like breakdown that Michelangelo does over on like a whiteboard, and there's some good moments here. And Donnie ends up finding out where the Batcave is. They're swimming through like the sewers or something. They're underground. You get to see the turtle phone. You get to see the turtle phone, and it looks very similar to the old 1987 cartoon, which I thought was a nice touch. I'm telling you, they did a bunch of callbacks to a bunch of old turtle stuff, and I'm probably missing a bunch of them, but this was one that stood out, and I thought it was great to see this style of turtle phone again. And the turtles end up finding the Batcave. They're in there. Batman's not there though. And they're just kind of like checking out the place, and it's your classic Batcave. They got the giant penny coin thing. They have the big dinosaur in there. Michelangelo gets on top of it at one point, and he's wearing the Batman cowl, just like the toy that they're going to be releasing at San Diego Comic-Con. You get to see this universe's Batman's like collection of costumes that he has, and you see a bunch of old ones. I'm pretty sure you see like the Bob Kane's first version of the suit, which is like a red and black one, but later on like Bill Finger came or something like that. There's a whole documentary about it. I don't remember it word for word, but I'm pretty sure Bob Kane, when him and Bill Finger were coming up with Batman first, Bob Kane had this version of him like a red suit, and then Bill Finger came up with the like iconic look, or they came up with it, and that ended up being the version or something. But it was just a nice nod. It was a nice nod for Batman fans to see, because you also get to see that first iconic look, the black and gray version as well, right next to it. They're both just kind of in there together, and I thought that was a pretty cool little Easter egg. And if you're a DC fan and watching this and I just butchered all that, I'm sorry. I'm more of a Turtles fan, and but I think something like that happened, and if I got some details wrong, I apologize in advance. There's a funny part where Donatello has like a funny part where he sees his Batman's computer, and he just like totally starts geeking out, but then he like collects himself, and he's like, no, this is totally for professional purposes or whatever. Says something funny, and I thought it was spot on, the timing and everything. Donatello really shines in this movie. Anyways, Robin, it's Damian Wayne Robin, by the way, at least I'm pretty sure it is in there, and he's like watching them from the rafters, and he comes down and he's a little savage. He just starts beating the crap out of all of them, and they're all like, "Okay, kid, stop it." They're trying to like restrain him, but he's very slippery. He's like getting away from them as they're trying to stop him. But eventually, I think Michelangelo puts all his limbs inside of his shell, the classic, putting the head in the shell and everything, just turns into a shell and lands on his back, on Robin's back, and kind of just pins him to the ground. And Robin really can't do anything because he doesn't have any limbs to grab onto or anything. It's just like a big bag of cement is just kind of laying on his back, and it's got him pinned to the ground. Batman and Batgirl though show up, like they come in the Batmobile and they jump out and they're like, "Yo, let Robin go," or something, and they're like squaring off, them and the Turtles. But Leo's like trying to explain to him like, "We're not here to fight," and Batman calls them off, and they all start talking. They finally meet. A bunch of stuff happens here. You find out that Robin was spying on Roz and the Shredder, so he knows their whole plan. Batman moves one of the final pieces of the machine, the one that was at Wayne Enterprises, to like a boat or something, like outside of Gotham, so that they can't get it. Meanwhile, though, Shredder and Roz are finally at Arkham, and you get to see a few more brutal scenes here. You see like a security guard's head get chopped off, which I thought was like pretty cool. There's this other part that I thought was really cool. It's the security guard, and he's just standing there, then all of a sudden like these two like sharp claws go like through his chest, but like from the back, and he's just being lifted up into the air, and it's the Shredder. And again, another Turtles character just performing a pretty brutal act, and I thought it was the best thing on earth. I thought it was pretty cool. They're slowly making their way through Arkham, and you get to see a lot of the Batman's rogues gallery there. You see Harley Quinn, you see Two-Face, you see Poison Ivy, Bane, there's probably some other, Scarecrow, Mr. Freeze, that's right. But who they're really there for is the Joker, and they're there for like a recipe or something, or like a chemical blueprint thing that like Joker has for Joker's venom, the thing that makes people go crazy, or I think that's what they call it in the movie. And in return, Joker gets a vial of ooze, of the Ninja Turtles ooze, because Shredder has like a bunch of it. So they just need this recipe of Joker's venom. That way they can make it and mix it up with all the ooze Shredder has, and put it in that machine thing and have it rain down on the city. But in return, the Joker wants, like a smaller version of that. He just wants like a vial of ooze so he can transform all of Arkham's inmates into mutants and, cause chaos, because he's the Joker. And he does that. Meanwhile, though, the Turtles are at Wayne Manor. Yes, Wayne Manor. And this is where we start seeing the different pairings amongst the characters within like the Bat family and the Ninja Turtles. Michelangelo's kind of like growing attached to Alfred, and Alfred's like ordering pizza and stuff, but Alfred is not as attached to Michelangelo as Michelangelo is to Alfred. He's quite annoyed, and I thought that was a pretty great dynamic. Leonardo's training with Batman, and this is where we see Leonardo finally get some licks in on Batman, and he actually beats Batman in one of their sparring things, and Batman's like, "Oh man, if you would have fought like that against me, you would have beat me, or you would have had a good chance," or something like that. Back when they fought in the alley. Batman's also like, though, he's still recovering though from like the Sato Oshi strike that the Shredder pulled on him, and Leo explains to him that strike, that move isn't known by very many people. It's only known by two ninja masters, the Shredder and Splinter, and we get our at least the peak of what Splinter could look like in this universe. He's not in this movie, by the way, which I don't know, a little disappointed. I felt like he's one of the Turtles characters that I genuinely missed. I felt like in the comics, the dynamic that Splinter has with Batman really levels the playing fields between the Turtles characters and Batman. Whereas in this, it felt like, although everything felt pretty even, Batman did just feel like a smidge more powerful than the Turtles. And I feel like with Splinter there, it feels like even, like super even. And in the comics, you can see the respect that Batman has for Splinter, and it's just really charming. It's a charming way of Batman being presented, I guess, and I wanted to see that in this movie, and that's probably like the one thing where I kind of genuinely missed. It doesn't hurt the film, though, in my opinion, not having it. It just would have been an extra bonus on top of this already amazing animated movie. Raph is with Robin. They're trying to figure out, a plan or what's going on. Donnie's with Batgirl. They're trying to figure out an anti-ooze, just in case, stuff pops off. They have anti-ooze they could use to turn the people that transformed back into humans. They come up with something, but it's not like fully tested. Like there's like a 50-50 chance it could kill the person or something. But that's all they got, because they run out of time because the pizza arrives, and they have like this pizza party thing, but Batman's not having any, and like Michelangelo's like crushed by like, why is he rejecting pizza? Like Mikey just doesn't understand. And I thought that was pretty funny. And we get another funny bit with Alfred offering the Turtles napkins, and this is a nice nod to Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, where they all look at him and they're like, what for? And it's a nice nod for 90s fans. Anyways, the bat signal starts going off, like the alarm thing, and they have to go to Arkham, where the Joker has transformed all of the Rogues Gallery. Harley Quinn gets mutated into like a dog. Mr. Freeze gets mutated into a polar bear. I don't know what Two-Face is. He's like I don't know what it is. It's got like two heads. Poison Ivy looks like a Venus flytrap. Bane is, just like the spoilers before the movie came out confirmed, is not an elephant in this. He is the Jaguar, like they were saying in the spoilers. Scarecrow is a crow, and the Joker is a snake, like he was in the comics. But yeah, the Turtles and Batman arrive at the front of Arkham, and I love the creepy vibe that with the Turtles. The creepy vibe of like Arkham mixed with the Turtles was something I really never knew I wanted. I never noticed how cool the Turtles are in this like creepy environment. Maybe that's something to kind of explore down the road with like just turtle stories. I thought the two blended perfectly. I was like, man, I never knew how much I needed this. Anyways, they go in, Batman, is like, these are like the deadliest people like ever. Like we gotta figure this out. And they all split up. They go into pairings. Mikey, Raph, and Robin fight like Mr. Freeze as a polar bear. Leo and Batman go and fight Scarecrow. Donnie and Batgirl fight Bane. They all win against the people they fight, but I think the biggest highlight out of all of these was Leo and Batman versus Scarecrow, especially when Leo gets like sprayed with the fear gas. There's some really dark moments in this, like really dark, probably some of the darkest stuff we've ever seen like in animated Turtles, and I liked it. I dug all of this. Leo's eyes look crazy when he's under the influence of this stuff. There's like a red outline to them, and they just look like sunken in, and he's having visions of his brothers getting like killed in front of his eyes, and he's like freaking out. The imagery in this part is super dark, super creepy, and I loved every minute of it. Batman's like trying to like coach him through it though, and eventually Leo like focuses in and like beats Scarecrow. And the Turtles also, the rest of the Turtles also get through their opponents, and they all end up like in the same room where the Joker is at the end of this like, I don't know, like crazy, like it's like a maze almost. And I think Batman even refers to it as a maze within the the walls of Arkham. Anyways, they all end up in this room where there's like these two hostages, or at least they think there's hostages, and the Turtles, or at least like Raph, wants to go in there and like save them. Like he's like, no, we gotta go, and Batman's like, no, it could be a trap, you don't know the Joker. But like Raphael's super like impulsive, and him and I think like Michelangelo or one of the other Turtles, they go in there and they try to save the hostages, and they find out like the hostages like don't have heads anymore. I don't know if they're like dummies or if they're like decapitated victims. Anyways, they have attached to them like these taser weapons that shocks the Turtles, and they all like fall to the ground. By the way, speaking about falling to the ground, I totally missed this part. It was leading up to this where they all meet up in this room. It's like intense. There's like intense music playing, and they're all like going up these stairs, like Raph, Mikey, and Robin, and it's like the dramatic music's playing and everything. And I thought this was pretty funny. Like Mikey like trips as he's going up the stairs, and like everything just stops, the music and everything, and they all look at him. And it's like this awkward silence. I thought it was perfectly timed, very hilarious, and I did want to mention that. Anyways, the turtles, they get shocked, and then chaos. This is back in the room with the Joker, and the chaos erupts. So like the rest of the Rogues Gallery comes in. Now they're kind of outnumbered. Batman is, and Mr. Freeze is able to like freeze him like down. And I forget who it is, Joker or Harley Quinn. One of them comes over and injects him with the ooze, like the Ninja Turtles ooze, and he starts mutating. It's like the cocktail actually, with the Joker venom in it too. So he goes crazy and he mutates into a giant bat monster thing. He starts going insane and just starts attacking everybody, even the bad guys. He goes after Mr. Freeze, and I'm pretty sure he killed him. It all happens off screen unless he shows up at the end. I don't remember if he shows up at the end. Anyways, he gets brutally taken down. Anyways, the Turtles and like Batgirl have the anti-ooze, and they're trying to, get it to Batman to, turn him back into a human. But there's this game of like keep away that happens, and it was very reminiscent of like the science lab scene in Secret of the Ooze. I wonder if it was a nod to that. It definitely looked like it, and I was like, dang, they really pulled out all the stops. Anyways, eventually Mikey is able to like get Batman, pin him down, and gets a hit in on him with the anti-ooze. So I guess the Turtles sort of defeated Batman as well, kind of how Batman defeated them at the beginning. That's what I meant about like, later in the movie it kind of pays off. It was a mutated like wild version of Batman, but still the Turtles take him down and they inject them with the anti-ooze. And Batgirl like stomps Joker in the head, and that's pretty much it. They take off back to the Batcave because Batman needs to recover. He got like super injured. Now, apparently the whole thing with the Joker and the mutated Rogues Gallery was all a distraction, and the real plan was for Shredder and Roz to go get the final piece of the machine from the boat where Batman had moved it to. Penguin's there, and I think he's the one who finds it because he's like trying to sell it to Roz and Shredder. And this is where I was like a little bit iffy. I talked about it earlier where I was like, I don't know if that worked. The way Roz is bossing Shredder around, he says something like, remind me that you're still good for something and take care of Penguin, but he's like talking down to him. And at first, when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know if I like that. But then when I thought about it, it kind of made sense because Shredder is after this immortality thing, and this is the only guy that knows how to get it. So it does kind of make sense that he would put up with this. When I look at it like that, it doesn't bother me as much. Now, Penguin thinks he's going to get like a payment for this, but all that happens is Shredder kills all of his men, and Penguin's like, you know what? This one's on me. Take the machine, and he kind of just dips out. Meanwhile, back at the Batcave, they've kind of figured out the Shredder and Ra's al Ghul's master plan. Batman is kind of recovering, but he's pissed at the Turtles for being so impulsive. Leo seems like he's kind of had it too. He's ready to, bounce with his brothers and get out of there. But this is when Raph steps in, and he gives a pretty cool speech about, being a loner and stuff, and he's talking to Batman and how he can relate to all that stuff. And this kind of convinces Batman that maybe they should work together one more time. And they all, they all say they're going together, but Mikey wants to go in the Batmobile with Batman, and Leo explains that they also have a vehicle as well. And this is when we get our new look, or a first look at their new like turtle van, and I thought it was sick. Such a cool throwback to, I think at least it was a throwback to the 87 cartoon van, and they did a good job just making it like modern and adding some updates to it, which it was such an iconic van back in the day that everyone had that toy back in the day. And to see it again, but like in this modern version, I thought was such a great direction to go. Anyways, they all head on over to Ace Chemical Plant, which if you know from like Batman lore, that's where the Joker became the Joker. He fell into like some chemicals, at least in certain versions. But the Foot and the League of Assassins are there waiting, like it's a fortress. Like they're all sitting there with crossbows on the walls and stuff ready to go, or bone arrows. We get some really cool, unforgettable moments in this whole sequence here, leading up to the final fight. The Batmobile and the turtle van, they just kind of bust through, and a bunch of stuff starts happening. They're all being chased by like construction equipment, and there's like this chair thing that lifts up Donnie, and he's wearing like a baseball helmet. And I thought this was great. He like turns around and he says Bossa Nova, which was a nice nod to the 1990 movie. He shoots like some manhole covers at this construction stuff and at these construction machines that the Foot are using, and he's taking them all down. Some mutant foot soldiers and assassins start popping out. We do get a big elephant one, so even though we didn't get an elephant mutant with Bane, it does appear in one of the, I think it's a foot soldier or one of the assassins, I forget what it was, but it does pop out at one point. I think it's when Raph and Batgirl jump out in their motorcycles and they start driving around too. There's even this like big dinosaur mutant foot soldier that starts chasing them, and they are able to inject it with the anti-ooze at one point, and the way it demutates, I guess that's probably the best way to put it, demutates, the way it demutates was one of the funniest things I had ever seen. And yeah, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. He pretty much, I'm assuming when he mutated, ripped all of his clothes, so when he demutates, when he reverts back into his human form, and he falls in a way where like his ass is sticking up in the air, but his clothes have been ripped, so he's like butt naked. I thought it was one of the funniest things in the entire movie. Mikey pressing all the buttons in the Batmobile and Robin like watching in jealousy was also pretty funny. It was more like low-key funny, but yeah, the dinosaur mutant like demutating was hilarious. Now the turtles get past all of the soldiers and stuff. They get inside of the plant, and this is where like the final fights start. At first there's some like foot soldiers and assassins they've got to get through, but eventually we get Batman versus the Shredder again, and we get Leo and Donnie team up, which they teamed up quite a bit in this movie, I noticed, and they are fighting Ra's al Ghul. And there's this one part in their fight which I thought was the coolest thing, was where Ra's al Ghul snaps Donatello's arm, like he just breaks it, and Donatello's screaming in agony, and I thought it was super cool to see. When watching the turtles, usually don't get the sense that any of them could be hurt or anything like that, and to watch this, they felt vulnerable, and it made the stakes and the drama feel even higher seeing Donnie's arm get snapped like that. And Leo's watching the whole thing and he gets pissed. He starts having like flashbacks of the vision he had of his brothers dying, and he really starts going at it with Ra's al Ghul. Donatello like gets kicked off like the balcony thing or like the bridge thing they're on, and he falls to the bottom where the machine they're about to launch is, with all the, like the ooze and like the Joker's venom, and he kind of like holds on to it as it starts taking off. Meanwhile, Shredder's fighting Batman, and Batman's using like his gadgets and stuff as he's fighting, but Shredder's like no more gadgets, no more tech or whatever, and he starts like breaking Batman's utility belt off as they're fighting, and he like kicks him back and scratches his chest. Like he gets like these two big gashes on his chest, Batman does, and Shredder pretty much has the upper hand on him. He starts like kicking him around and stuff. It's great seeing these two fight, not only because they're both really cool, but the way their costumes are designed in this movie, and just in general, it's kind of a coincidence. They almost have very like similar designs. They both have like a cape, both have like cool little gauntlets with spikes on them that they keep clashing together. Their helmets sort of look similar, like the shape of them, or the cowl and Shredder's helmet sort of have the same shape to it. It's just cool seeing the two go at it. It's like a good and like evil version of themselves going at it. So Donnie's going up on the machine. Mikey sees what's happening. He jumps on as well. Donnie has to try to like talk Mikey into deactivating the machine, and Mikey does a nice callback to the 87 cartoon theme song where he goes, "But you do machines and I'm the party dude," or something like that. Again, another nice callback. But eventually Mikey is able to disable the machine. Leonardo is able to do like a different version of like that touch of death thing that Shredder did. It was similar, but it was a little different. He does it on Ra's al Ghul, ends up defeating him, And Batman looks like he's about to lose to Shredder, and Shredder says, do you have any like last words? And Batman says, cowabunga. And Shredder's like, oh crap. And then Raphael, like out of nowhere, just comes and like shell shocks him, breaking his mask off, and Batman just goes over to him and just starts punching him in the face. It gets pretty brutal. Like he punches him repeatedly in the face, and blood starts pouring out and stuff. The Shredder's kind of like on his back foot. He's pretty much done, and he starts saying something like, you know, taking over Gotham was Ra's al Ghul's plan, but not his. So I think they were like setting up a sequel for sure, especially with the end credit scene. But even here, throughout the movie, they were already setting it up. But anyways, the machine that Donnie and Mikey destroyed comes crashing down, launches the Shredder into a batch of like ace chemicals, and like the building's catching on fire. So they're trying to get out of there because like this place is gonna explode, and they all get out of there. And that's pretty much how it ends. They all go back to the Batcave. They have one more pizza party, and they're able to convince Batman to have a slice of pizza, which was pretty great. We get some final goodbyes with all the pairings we had throughout the entire thing, which, again, really nice pairings that they set up. Everyone seemed to, the banter and like the dialogue and stuff was perfect with the way they paired up the characters, and the way they say goodbye to each other, just as cool. And that's pretty much where this movie ends. The credits have a bunch of like made up like classic comic book covers of the Turtles and Batman crossovers, ones that never happened, but they take like classic iconic Batman and Ninja Turtles comic book covers, and like recreate them as Batman Ninja Turtle crossover comics, and I thought that was pretty cool. Maybe we'll do a video, you know, talking about all the different ones at some point. Now, the after credit scene, and we knew there was going to be an after credit scene. We had heard about it from WonderCon and people that were there, but we didn't get all the information because the way Shredder comes back, unless I did talk about it, I don't remember talking about it like this. Anyways, he comes back as this like Joker Shredder. Like he looks like the Shredder, but his face looks crazy like the Joker. And I was like, what? This is gonna be an interesting sequel if they're able to get it approved. I don't know if they I think this has to do pretty well for them to get that sequel going, but hopefully it does, and hopefully we get to see that Shredder, that Joker-ish Shredder in action. I wonder what the storyline and all that's going to be. They must have something in mind already if that's the way they went. But that's it. That's pretty much all I have. There was one part I missed. I forgot where it was. It's Michelangelo. He does like his move from the 87 intro, like where he's swinging his nunchucks around. I forgot what part of the movie it was in, but I did want to mention it. I thought that was really awesome to see as well. They really pulled out all the stops for all the Turtle fans on this one, and I recommend you go see it. If you're listening to this spoiler video but you haven't seen the movie, I say go pick it up. I'm not doing it justice. This thing is really great. Go pick it up on digital or Blu-ray. Blu-ray won't be out till like June 5th or something like that, but right now it's available on digital, so go check it out. Totally recommend it here. You already heard from my non-spoiler review if you've seen that one. 4 out of 4 shells from the Turtle Den over here. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this really long spoiler recap, review, breakdown, whatever this is. I just wanted to talk about every aspect with you guys, but rest assured we're going to be talking more about this in upcoming weeks. Just wanted to kind of go over everything though first and see what you guys thought about it as well. So let me know down below what was your favorite part of the movie, what part stood out to you, and if you're new to the channel or you're stumbling across it and you want more Ninja Turtles content in your life, well then go ahead, hit that subscribe button, because that's all we talk about here is old, new, upcoming Ninja Turtle stuff. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and press thumbs up. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in a little bit with another video. Ninja vanish! Hey Turtle fans, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to follow me on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's a good way to stay in touch with the channel. And also, if you want, go ahead and give the video a share on your social media platforms, Reddit, Twitter, all that stuff. And let's spread Turtle Mania to the world. Once again, thanks everyone for watching. It really does mean a lot.